What do you think about Donald Trump running for president again?
You know, I think that's the past. And I think that we have to march into the future. And I think there are very talented people in this country on the Republican side that can run. So I would go, look in the future rather than in a rear mirror.
What happens when a Hollywood legend goes toe-to-toe with a reality TV president? Spoiler alert, it's not pretty for the guy with the bad spray tan. Arnold Schwarzenegger just schooled Trump so hard, we're pretty sure that Donald is crying into his hamburgers right now. Ready to see the smackdown that's got everyone talking? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Remember when Trump was just that funny guy with the weird hair? Well, those days are long gone, folks. Our orange friend has been on quite the roll lately, and not in a good way. It's like he's playing a game of how low can you go, and he's winning by a landslide.
And they hired a big movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take my place. And we know how that turned out. The ratings went right down the tubes. It's been a total disaster.
Arnold, I have a great idea. Why don't we switch jobs? You take over TV because you're such an expert in ratings, and I take over your job. And then people can finally sleep comfortably again.
So being from Europe, I've seen firsthand how things can spin out of control. I know there is a fear in this country and all over the world that something like this could happen right here.
Just when we thought Trump couldn't sink any lower, he goes and proves us wrong, again. It's like he's got a PhD in disappointing the nation. His recent antics have been so wild, it's like a toddler got hold of the nuclear codes and decided to play, let's see what this big red button does. Trump's been throwing tantrums left and right, making Mount Vesuvius look like a kid's science fair volcano. He's been ranting about everything from election fraud to windmills giving you cancer. I'm starting to think he's got a personal vendetta against facts and common sense. But don't just take my word for it. Even the experts are scratching their heads at this mess. Political analysts are working overtime trying to make sense of Trump's latest tweets. It's like they're trying to translate alien hieroglyphics, but the aliens are drunk and angry.
As an immigrant to this country, I would like to say a few words to my fellow Americans. President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet. Very aware of Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. It was a night of rampage against the Jews carried out in 1938 at the Nazi equivalent of the Proud Boys.
One expert said, and I quote, Trump's behavior is unprecedented in modern American politics, which is a fancy way of saying we've never seen anyone act this bonkers before. Another analyst compared Trump's recent actions to a political dumpster fire. I'd say that's an insult to dumpster fires everywhere. But wait, there's more. Trump's not just content with messing things up at home. Oh no, he's taking his show on the road. He's been picking fights with world leaders like it's a hobby. It's like he's trying to collect enemies like Pokemon cards. Gotta catch them all, right? And let's not forget about his latest brilliant idea, suggesting we should nuke hurricanes, because apparently Mother Nature wasn't scared enough of us already. What's next? Fighting global warming with a giant ice cube? So what could possibly stop this orange tornado of chaos? Well folks, it looks like the Terminator is about to come back. Yep, you heard that right. Arnold Schwarzenegger is gearing up to lay the smackdown on old Trumpy. But before we get to the good stuff, let's take a quick peek at what got Arnold all fired up.
You famously said that the Republican Party has a problem at the box office. I heard you equate the GOP with the Titanic. Explain.
The reason why I said it was because their policies were such that they were not really including everybody. And we were losing them because we were not addressing those issues. So I was telling them, I said, look, the way you're going, by being so anti, healthcare reform and being so anti-environment and stuff like this, we are losing and we are dying at the box office.
It's like the setup for the ultimate political showdown. In one corner, we've got the guy who famously said, "You're fired." In the other, we've got the guy who famously said, "I'll be back." My money's on the guy who's actually been in real action movies, not just reality TV. Well, folks, it looks like the the Terminator just found his new target, and it's not a killer robot from the future. It's our very own orange-tinted former president. Arnold Schwarzenegger's viral video just dropped, and let me tell you, it's hotter than a California wildfire in July. As soon as Arnie's chiseled jaw appeared on screen, you could practically hear the collective gasp across the nation. This wasn't just another celebrity weighing in on politics. This was the Governator himself, ready to lay down some serious truth bomb.
The only thing is that we don't have to go under completely. We don't have to wait for that moment. Let's change and let's go and be more open and go back to this kind of like a big tent idea of Ronald Reagan. And I think this is why we have helped it to some extent here in California with getting rid of gerrymandering and to do redistricting reform and to have open primaries.
Independents are about to overtake Republicans in California. What can California do differently?
I think independents are going to take over the Republicans, they're going to take over the Democrats also.
Schwarzenegger didn't pull any punches, starting off by calling Trump's behavior un-American. Ouch, that's gotta sting more than a failed spray tan. But Arnie was just getting warmed up. He went on to say, "President Trump, you are the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people, does not even pretend to try. Instead, you are trying to divide us. Talk about a political smackdown." But wait, there's more. Arnold didn't just criticize, he offered a history lesson that would make your old social studies teacher proud. He compared Trump's actions to the Kristallnacht, saying, "Wednesday was the day of broken glass, right here in the United States." For those who skipped that day in class, Kristallnacht was a violent anti-Jewish pogrom in Nazi Germany. Yikes, that's a heavy comparison. As Arnold's words spread faster than a rumor in a high school cafeteria, the internet went absolutely bonkers. Memes featuring Arnold as the Trumpinator flooded Twitter, while Facebook groups dedicated to the video popped up like mushrooms after rain. Even TikTok got in on the action, with users recreating Arnold's speech using everything from action figures to cats in wig. But it wasn't just the meme makers having a field day. Political pundits were falling over themselves to analyze every word, like it was the Zapruder film of political takedowns. CNN ran a 24-hour Arnold-athon, while Fox News hosts looked like they'd just bitten into a particularly sour lemon. The impact of Arnold's words was undeniable. Suddenly, people who couldn't tell you the difference between the House and Senate were quoting Schwarzenegger like he was the new Hamilton. It was like watching a real-life version of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, except Mr. Smith had biceps the size of watermelons and an accent that could cut glass. Arnold's epic takedown wasn't just a viral hit, it's got people talking about what real leadership looks like. Turns out, when you speak truth to power, folks listen. Who knew? It's like Arnold flexed his political muscles and everyone felt the burn. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about Arnold versus Trump, it's about all of us standing up for what's right. Maybe it's time we all channeled our inner Terminator and said, "I'll be back," to the voting booth. Because let's face it, in the battle for democracy, we're all action heroes. So let's flex those voting muscles and show the world who's really in charge. After all, democracy isn't a spectator sport. It's more like a mosh pit where everyone's invited. Time to jump in and start thrashing. Politically speaking, of course. Remember, every vote counts. Unless you're trying to count Trump's Twitter followers. Then it's anyone's guess.